Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Wish Dragon, the latest Sony Animated Pictures film that, much like The Mitchells vs. the Machines, was a film that was probably originally meant to be in theaters but was instead sent to Netflix, and is probably going to get a decent reception there despite the fact that it's essentially, story-wise, very similar to another animated film from Disney. I'll let you guess what it is when I go to the story. The story is about a young man named Din, who's a college student who has dreams of living it big since he happens to live in a rather poor family who lives in a, one-room apartment with his mother. But when Din finds this magical teapot, he ends up summoning this wish dragon who has to serve 10 masters before he can go to the spirit world to live in harmony. And Din happens to be his last master, and with every master he has to give 3 wishes. So Din happens to use those wishes in order to impress a girl from his past named Lena, while the dragon named Long, voiced by John Cho, tries to understand the true meaning of life. That's all I'll say about the story. So as I've stated from the story, it definitely seems similar to Aladdin, doesn't it? Well, when it comes down to it, it is basically Aladdin in Shanghai, and it goes through a lot of the similar story beats. Even right down to a major antagonist who ends up having the teapot near the third act, and when it comes to the relationship between Din and Lena, feeling very similar to that between Aladdin and Jasmine. Just replace the Arabian Nights with modern-day Shanghai, and it's kind of the same story. And that can be a little bit of a problem when it comes to the originality of the film, but it's able to make up for that with some really good animation. Sony Pictures Animation certainly can impress when it comes to the visuals, and even though this film isn't exactly as groundbreaking as, say, Into the Spider-Verse or Mitchells vs. the Machines, it looks generally professional and good enough, especially in the character designs for Long and several of the more spiritual elements. And I did appreciate the film's sense of humor. It didn't exactly have me laughing on the floor as common as often as, say, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, but the jokes that they go for are genuinely pretty funny, and there's even a bit of adult material in there to show you that there's something for the older audiences to enjoy, even though it's definitely a film that's meant for kids. Granted, there are also some groaners, but they only happen once or twice, and even then, they won't take you out of the film completely. Even if the message of the film is pretty similar to that of Aladdin. Be true to yourself, don't lie about who you are, understand the true meaning of life is to put others before yourself, all that sort of thing. So, it's definitely more of an Aladdin knockoff when it comes to its story, but when it comes to its visuals and humor, it's actually pretty solid. So, I wouldn't say you should completely abandon this film. I would say it's at least worth a watch, genuinely for the performances, the visuals, and when it comes to how well the film handles its Shanghai setting. In many ways, it kind of feels like Over the Moon when it comes to how it handles it. And even though it's not quite as good as Over the Moon in its writing and its story, I do think it's worth a watch. Not bad, but it would have benefited from more originality. That's why I'm going to give Wish Dragon a 7 out of 10. See you next time.